On August 8, 2008, the opening ceremony of the Beijing Olympic Games was held at the National Stadium, the Bird's Nest. But just over a week prior, the venue played host to a very different scene. Liu Yan was one of the talented dancers chosen to perform at the opening ceremony. On July 27, 2008, as she was rehearsing for the only dance solo performance, Silk Road, tragedy struck. Just as she was about to dismount from the 3-meter-high apparatus she was balancing on, it withdrew from beneath her feet 1 second earlier than she expected. In that moment, her life was irrevocably changed.
多高？多高？就2米。
我说你在3号门还是在4号门？救护车。
让那个奖让一下。
我当时好像时而是昏迷，时而清醒。坠落的那个过程，我现在真的还都没有印象。但是等我躺在地面上睁开眼的时候，看到一个红彤彤的鸟巢。
Having suffered serious injuries from the fall, Liu Yan lost her chance to perform in the historical opening ceremony.
我摔伤以后一直在重症监护室住了好多天，我的主治医来跟我有一次非常正式的谈话，他说特别的专业。后来我就跟我的主治医说，我说您能别跟我说这些，能不能直接告诉我我到底怎么了？他说了4个字，我印象太深了，但我听懂了。他说你瘫痪了。订昨天那个行吗？行，可以啊，可以。
It's August 22nd, 2020, and Liu Yan is at the #1 culture center of Xicheng district in Beijing, working on a live stream she initiated to promote dance culture. 12 years after the incident, this brave young woman looks as energetic as ever, and only occasionally needs the help of others to get around. But it took a lot of healing, both physical and mental, to get to where she is now.
所有的那种生活细节就对我觉得我自己的那种自信心的摧毁是挺厉害的，因为我还记得我当舞者的时候那种自信心真的是爆棚的，整个的落差太大了，就是我做什么我都觉得我不行。
Born in 1982, Liu Yan began showing a talent for dancing soon after she started training at the age of 9. Her first big success came at the age of 18, when she won the silver medal in a national dance contest. 4 years later, she won gold at the same competition, and suddenly she found herself as one of the country's top dancers. Her star was still rising at the age of 27 years, when everything came crashing to a halt.
每个人都是性格使然吧，放弃这个词在我的字典里到现在为止我就没有。所以面对我瘫痪或者我坐轮椅，我的脊髓完全性损伤，我只做了一件事，就是我可以选择我面对它的态度。
When her stage career had come to an abrupt end, Liu Yan forced herself to find another goal that required 100% commitment. In September 2010, she was admitted to the Graduate School of Chinese National Academy of Arts for a PhD program in danceology. It was this transition from a dancer to a scholar that allowed her to see herself from a new perspective.
把这几个字记下来，叫包容性艺术。你们接下来也可以多一点的去关注这方面艺术的创作。残健共融，它有它独特的审美与。
我觉得那个自信不是自己去鼓励自己，而是好像用行动感觉到我可以，所以自信心就从那个时候开始，我觉得一点的再回来，再建立，直到现在。
Today, she is a professor at the Beijing Dance Academy. The main course she teaches happens to be the focus of her PhD, hand gestures in Chinese classical dance.
我当时在业内有一个名字叫留一腿，就是我的腿下的整个的基本功是还是在舞者当中还是挺好的，但双腿不能动，如何跳舞？
Without the use of her legs, Liu Yan began exploring the possibility of dancing with her hands. When she managed to find a way to express herself again, she finally rediscovered the sense of freedom and satisfaction that dance had always given her. Now, Liu Yan has found a completely new way of dancing.
我确实是因为舞蹈摔伤的，我自己也无数次的扪心自问，问我自己，就说你还要不要继续舞蹈这件事情？我的回答没有别的，就是一定要继续舞蹈。我觉得舞蹈是我的精神食粮，我不可以少了它，否则我会有饥饿感。
3、2、1。大家好，我是刘岩。
In the 12 years that Liu Yan has been in a wheelchair, she has never let her disability get in the way of her passion. Instead, she has embraced her new pair of dancing shoes, become a professor and dance instructor, and devoted herself to charity and public welfare. At 9 a.m. every morning, Li Hui arrives at the Xinzhi Yuan Art Therapy Service Center. "34-year-old Li Hui graduated from the Department of Chinese Ethnic and Folk Dance of Beijing Dance Academy. He was also a professional dancer for the Beijing Opera and Dance Drama Theatre. But now he teaches disabled people who have little dancing experience. If it weren't for an accident 8 years ago, he never would have thought he'd have to say goodbye to the stage so early in life. The accident occurred one day in 2012, when one of his colleagues was giving him a lift home on his motorcycle.
他骑的可能有点着急，有点快了，正好他躲人的时候，然后就把我甩出去了。路灯杆正好我腰就杠到上面了，整个杠断了。
Li Hui was in the ICU for 11 days after the accident. When he woke up, he couldn't accept the fact that he'd never be able to walk again. Day after day, he kept drowning sorrows, hoping to idle away his life.
那段经历就像一个又臭又硬的皮囊，我爸我妈那时候都管不了我，就在家里待着，玩手机，酒，出去晚上跟哥几个一块喝，喝完了以后，一晚上都不回家，谁来了见着不高兴就骂，臭小子一个那时候。
For those first few months, the world was a dark and dreary place, where things like hope and happiness didn't seem to exist.
我一个大男孩被我妈抱来抱去，抱上抱下的。有一次在轮椅上转移到马桶的时候，他可能那段时间血压也高，抱着我的同时，一下我们俩就坐在地上，我们俩在地上整整趴了将近10分钟。就那一下，真的我心疼啊！我妈呀，那是半百的人了，还抱我这么一个大神皮，我妈真的，我不能失去她。我要失去她，我可能我这辈子都活不下去了。所以说我得让自己，我得让自己走出来。
After the incident, Li Hui gradually got his life back on track. Always his rock, his mother accompanied him to his daily rehabilitation sessions, during which she would play her favorite song, Swan Geese. One day, while he was listening to it, something stirred inside him that he had almost forgotten was there.
对着那个面镜子透过来的那种光，当我抬头看到我手臂放那歌的时候，不由自主动的时候，我发现了还可以。
10 days later, Li Hui summoned up his courage and danced for his mother in his wheelchair.
我妈她只是看了我说：“儿子，咱们这不还能行了吗？你不还能跳呢吗？咱再跳呗，咱不是可以跳吗？”就那一句话，她真的把我那团火又重新点起来了。
Li Hui, who once thought happiness was no longer on the cards, was now playing with a whole new deck. Not only did dancing save his life, but it also connected him with the love of his life.
我对他是一见钟情。舞蹈的时候，他特别的投入，很自信。从他身上你完全看不到残疾人的影子，他很容易让你忽略掉他是一个残障者。
Many people didn't understand why she would choose a disabled person as her husband, especially her mother, who was uncertain her daughter would be able to take care of Li Hui for the rest of her life.
我就跟母亲讲了一些李辉目前的状况，然后李辉生活自理的状况，完全不需要任何人的辅助。后来母亲也跟他也电话沟通了一段时间，我妈很开心，觉得人品好是最重要的。因为我好不容易遇到一个我喜欢的人，我会说服所有人。因为李辉确实优秀，虽然说他是残障人士，但是他自律、自信，而且自强，我认为他很伟大。
With their parents' blessing, Li Hui and Xiao Yue tied the knot in October of 2020.
受伤之后，我慢慢发现，这扇门给我关闭了，但是还有一个窗户在上面为我打开。这个窗户是无限大的，我觉得这个透过来的照在我身上的这种光，它是从一个缝隙慢慢变大，然后更加的宽广。我觉得这第二人生中这种状态真的太好了，我赚了，我真的赚了。
Nearly 8,000 people with disabilities have come to Li Hui's Art Therapy Center to learn dance. His story is inspiring. We may not be able to choose what fate befalls us. We can always choose to make the best of it. On November 5th, 2018, the United Nations invited the China Disabled People's Performing Art Troupe to perform the 1,000-hand Bodhisattva dance at their headquarters in New York. Despite being hearing impaired, they loudly conveyed the beauty of their silent world to a captivated international audience. The dance was first performed in 2005 at that year's Spring Festival Gala. Not only did it become an overnight sensation, but it also changed the life of a hearing-impaired girl from Hebei province. In 1996, when Wei Jingyang was just a year old, a high fever resulted in the loss of her hearing. Desperate to help her fit in and attend schools, her mother taught her how to speak and pronounce words as best she could. But when the girl said she wanted to learn dance, her usually supportive mother objected.
小的时候我只非常的喜欢舞蹈，那时候就跟我妈妈说了，我想学习跳舞。完了，妈妈跟我说的第一句话就是：“你听不见音乐，你怎么跳舞呢？”虽然我有点伤心，但是我还是不甘心，因为2005年春节联欢晚会的天使光影的闪亮登场，改变了我父母的想法。
In August 2007, Jingyang traveled to Beijing for an interview with the China Disabled People's Performing Art Troupe. There she met the head of the troupe, Tai Li Hua, whom she had seen many times on TV.
因为在来这里之前，到我老家，我从来没有接触过跟我一样听不见的伙伴。当时我有一个特别幼稚的想法，我还以为全世界只有我一个是聋人。
Within 2 months, Jingyang had learned sign language and found a sense of belonging she had never felt before. However, the dancing didn't come easily. For the hearing impaired, the ability to recognize rhythm is the most fundamental aspect of dance. The only way this can be achieved is by learning how to feel the vibration of music through their bodies.
明白吗？每一种节奏的类型表达的方式也不一样。
In their silent world, music doesn't come with melodies. To them, music is a combination of repeated beats that must be memorized. After countless hours of practice and repetition, Jingyang's body gradually began to develop the muscle memory required to create the gracefully synchronized dances she had first seen on TV.
5、6，走，7、8，头往上，头夹2、3、4、5、6、7、8，走，往远，身体往远摆出去，手呢，弓一节，魏金阳往远，魏金阳往远看。
In 2020, the troupe introduced their newest dance, Moonlight, hoping it would achieve the same critical success as the well-loved Thousand Hand Bodhisattva. It was both unique in substance and innovative in terms of dance techniques, but musically, it brought an unprecedented challenge to the dancers.
原来都是1、2、3、4，这次它是一个旋律的1、2、3，它是连绵不断的。 它整个的动作也是柔美，那这就很难说是，因为他听不到这个音乐的感觉，所以说他只能用视觉。
The more challenging thing was that these cues didn't just come from the other dancers; they came from both sides of the stage. According to Jingyang, this is one of the most difficult parts of the dance, because from her position, in the middle of the row, she can barely see the signer's command.
中间那个空子别那么大，魏金阳，你得下去点儿。话是这么样的吗？当导演在这空半天，你还错，总有人晚，就你们这轱辘啊。魏金阳以你为首的啊，再来，只要有一个人做错了，大家再给他来一遍啊。
这个孩子给我的印象就是非常的 坚韧、聪慧，非常有舞蹈这块的一个天赋。如果他出现错误了的话，我会非常严格的说他，你是主要演员，如果你出现了一些问题，这是不可以的。
Liu Yan has been with Jingyang since she joined the troupe over 13 years ago, so every bit of criticism comes from a place of deep respect.
魏金阳是一个特别坚强的女孩。有一次晚上我来查房，然后我就看她 在他的寝室里边泡脚，然后我就看那个盆里边就是有血，红色的水。当时我就心里咯噔一下，然后一看他那个脚趾盖已经掉了，那个场景特别的那个难受。我到现在我也忘不了，他就从来也不说老师我受伤了，我完成不了这个演出任务，从来都不说，就是默默的自己在那强忍着。
When she first came to the troupe, Jingyang was the thin little girl standing in the corner who didn't know the first thing about dancing to the beat. Now she is either the solo or lead dancer in many shows and has taken her talent to more than 50 countries.
最近在做什么？
最近一段时间，我们排练的任务也特别的多，
就每天拿着看书背诵。
Jingyang's boyfriend is a law student at Nankai University. After they met, he decided to learn sign language and now plans to serve hearing-impaired clients once he graduates. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, they haven't seen each other in quite some time.
社会上对残疾的看法正在慢慢的改变，最起码从一个重复就开始。比方说，连我们这样的群体、听障人群体， 有的人还是习惯了让他的称呼叫我们聋哑人，但是实际上我们更多还是比较倾向于希望社会叫我们聋人。
4 years ago, Jingyang was admitted to the University of Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, where she majored in social work. Now she hopes to use her educational and dance experience in a way that will help raise public awareness about the disabled. In August 2020, Moonlight was in its final stages of rehearsals. The dance directly incorporated sign language into the choreography to showcase its unique beauty and pay respect to the disabled artists. But for Jingyang and her peers, it is the embodiment of the human spirit and proof of what we can achieve when we rise above our limitations.
我觉得到现在为止，我还是很坦然地说，如果让我再重新选择一次，我还会选择当舞者，因为我太爱舞蹈了。
因为我从那段阴霾走出来，是因为舞蹈，那是我这样人生中唯一一道光。
如果没有舞蹈的话，我可能走的路跟很普通的人有什么区别？自从有了舞蹈以外，让我的世界就感觉丰富多彩了。